We used the money from your mother-in-law's savings for this trip. It'll eventually become Tyler's inheritance anyway, so it's fine, right? My brother and his wife rushed over immediately after my mother passed away, not to offer condolences, but to get her bank book and withdraw her savings before I could submit her death certificate to the government office. You used Mom's money? Huh? Trying to suppress my anger, I asked Carol, who casually responded, "Yeah, we spent about $10,000 on the trip, LOL. The audacity of my brother and his wife, who conspired to use my mother's money without permission, made me furious for a moment. But then I remembered something. Right, these people don't know. I couldn't help but laugh. Ha ha ha. My condolences. Carol looked puzzled by my sudden laughter. What's wrong with you? Did the shock of us using the money make you go crazy? Of course, I wasn't going crazy. I just couldn't help but laugh when I imagined the surprised faces of my brother and his wife when they found out the truth and their miserable fate. Their carefree days were probably numbered. I am Samantha, a very ordinary office worker, raised by kind parents. My parents were always good-natured, constantly thinking about what they could do for others. Their kindness sometimes led them to being deceived or burdened with unfair responsibilities, but I admired them nonetheless. However, my brother Tyler had a completely different personality. He was always calculating what was beneficial for him and acted accordingly. To him, our parents, who would go out of their way to help others, were incomprehensible. As Tyler grew up, his rebellion against our parents intensified. In high school, he began to demand more money from them, saying, "If you can afford to do something for others, you can give me more allowance." Despite accepting Tyler's personality, our parents never changed their beliefs. Their unwavering character only frustrated him more. Tyler's negative feelings towards our parents only grew stronger in college. Taking advantage of the fact that our parents paid for his tuition, Tyler spent his college days partying and eventually failing a year, which caused them trouble. Parents should naturally devote themselves to their children, right? Or can you only be kind to others, but not your own family? Tyler continued his selfish behavior with such justification. I once heard him brag to his friends, "My parents are so gullible, LOL." After graduating college, Tyler moved out and started living on his own. Although he left home without notice, he complained, "I can't live a decent life on my first paycheck," and kept coming back to our parents' house to get living expenses before returning to his own place. Our parents worried about him and kept giving him money as requested. When I got a job, I decided to support our parents financially in place of Tyler. "Samantha, it's your hard-earned money, so you can use it however you like." Although my parents said this, I wanted to help them, so I continued to give them money as if it were their grocery expenses. This lifestyle continued for several years, and Tyler, who only showed up to ask for money, unusually invited me and our parents to a restaurant to talk. At the meeting place, a beautiful woman was sitting next to Tyler. "Dad, Mom, Samantha. Let me introduce you. This is my girlfriend, Carol." The woman introduced as Carol bowed her head slightly. "I've decided to marry Carol. We'll be busy preparing for our new life and the wedding, but I hope you'll support us." I thought support meant something like, "Please take care of Carol." But it seems my older brother had a completely different idea in his head. He asked our parents to pay for his wedding and new home. Knowing our parents' inability to say no when it comes to helping others, he skillfully persuaded them to cover all the expenses. Even after the wedding and the purchase of the new home, he continued to get money from them. Carol, his wife, became accustomed to this and started living more extravagantly. However, this lifestyle didn't last long. Our father's health deteriorated, and he was hospitalized. Even with insurance, hospital stays are expensive. To ensure our retired parents wouldn't struggle financially, I suggested to my brother that we both share the burden of the hospital bills. "I've been living at home and getting help from Mom and Dad, And you've received a lot of financial support from them too, right? This is the time to help them out. But my brother didn't agree. What? Why should I? It's Dad's fault for not taking care of his health. He neglected himself while helping others. That's his responsibility. After that, my brother stopped visiting our parents' house altogether. Neither he nor Carol visited our father even once while he was in the hospital. My mother and I desperately took care of him, but he passed away. Even when we informed them of our father's death, they didn't help with the funeral arrangements. They showed up briefly at the funeral, but didn't greet our relatives properly and left. Our relatives looked at them with disdain, but they probably didn't care. My mother, who had bravely acted as the chief mourner during the funeral, began to lose her energy after the funeral, clearly affected by the loss of my father. Tyler, Mom has been feeling down lately. She wants to see you. Can you visit her at home sometimes? When I asked my brother, he thought for a moment and then said, "By the way, what happened to Dad's inheritance?" "It all went to Mom. It seems they had decided that's what they would do when Dad was still alive." "I see. So Mom has the money now, right?" Feeling a bad premonition, I warned my brother immediately. "Like I said before, Mom is mentally weak right now. Don't try to take her money, okay? I want you to come and cheer her up." "What's the point of going if I can't get any money? It's not worth it." When I insisted that we wouldn't give him any money, he never visited our parents' house. And then, half a year after our father's death, our mother passed away too. Even knowing our mother's weakened state, my brother never showed any concern. When he learned of her death, he rushed back to our parents' house. I thought he would fulfill his duty as the eldest son during the funeral. But as it started, he and his wife disappeared. I called his cell phone, but it went straight to voicemail. In the end, I took on the role of the chief mourner instead of him and managed to finish the funeral. It was a few days later when I finally got in touch with my brother. "Ah, Samantha? This is Carol." When I called my brother's phone, Carol answered. "Tyler is busy with boarding procedures and can't answer the phone." "Boarding procedures? Carol, where are you?" "We're at JFK Airport. We're leaving the United States in a few hours, LOL. "Are you leaving the United States and going abroad?" "Yes, we're going on an international trip." I was surprised at my brother and his wife's decision to go on a trip abroad, right after our mother's death. But I was even more shocked by what Carol said next. "We're really grateful to our mother-in-law, you know. Thanks to her, we're able to enjoy this luxurious trip abroad. Haha." "What do you mean by that?" "Well, we used our mother-in-law's savings for this trip. It was going to be Tyler's inheritance anyway, so why not?" "From Mom's savings? How did you get that money?" "When we visited her house, we borrowed her bank book and seal. We knew we wouldn't be able to withdraw money once the death certificate was submitted, so we hurried." The real reason they rushed to our mom's house after her death was to get the bank book and withdraw the money before I submitted the death certificate. "So you used Mom's money?" Trying to suppress my anger, I asked Carol, and she casually replied, "Yes, we already spent $10,000 on the trip expenses. It's a good thing Tyler's plan worked out." For a moment, I was furious at the audacity of my brother and his wife for using our mom's money without permission. But then I remembered something. That's right. They don't know. I couldn't help but laugh. Serves you right." Confused by my sudden laughter, Carol asked, "What's wrong with you? Did the shock of us using the money make you lose your mind? Tyler is the eldest son, so it's natural for him to inherit more, right?" Laughing, I answered, "Sure, that's fine. I'll give up my inheritance so Tyler can inherit everything. That was your plan all along, right?" Upon hearing this, Carol happily said, "Oh my, you're quite understanding." By the way, please make sure to arrange for all of Mom's mail to be sent to your house from now on. "Don't worry, it's a simple task. I'll let Tyler know." Carol hung up the phone cheerfully. I didn't hear from my brother again until they returned from their trip. Samantha, Carol told me you're giving up your inheritance. Yes, but more importantly, did you handle the mail forwarding for Mom's mail? Yeah, I took care of it as soon as we got back. Good to know. You're not going to change your mind later, are you? You won't say you should have inherited after all? Of course not. I still believe my decision was the right one. Well, it's only right that I, the eldest son, inherit everything. Haha. My brother said this and ended the call in high spirits. But a few weeks later, he called again, sounding panicked. There's a collection notice addressed to Mom in her mail. What's this about? Oh, is it from the bank? Our parents always wanted to help people in need and would accept any request. This included money matters. If someone asked to borrow money, they would even borrow from the bank to lend to others or become a guarantor if asked. As a result, their debt grew more and more. The amount of debt was far greater than the savings, so inheriting would clearly put them in the red. Did you know about this? My brother raised his voice. You knew Mom had debt, right? Why didn't you say anything? There was no point. What? You're saying it's meaningless? You knew about the debt, so you gave up your inheritance, right? If I had known, I would have given it up too. That's impossible. Why the hell is it impossible? Tyler, you took money from Mom's bank account to go on vacation, didn't you? So what? What does that have to do with giving up the inheritance? It's a big deal. What you did is considered a simple acceptance of the inheritance. Simple? What does that mean? Explain it so I can understand. I explained to my brother that by withdrawing money from our deceased family member's account for his own use before the inheritance process, it was seen as a simple acceptance of the inheritance. I've never heard of such a thing. Of course not, huh? Not many people would even consider using a deceased family member's savings for their own selfish desires, so it doesn't come up in conversation. You're just making stuff up because you want the inheritance for yourself. I have a lawyer friend, you know. They'll find out if you're lying. My brother hung up the phone and apparently told his lawyer friend what I had said. He called back later, but his previous bravado was gone. Samantha, you were right. I can't give up the inheritance now, it seems. It appeared the lawyer had given him the same answer I did. Finally, my brother realized he had inherited the debt. He had always begged our parents for money, never knowing they were accumulating debt behind the scenes. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say it was his own fault for contributing to the debt. Still, my brother desperately tried to find a way to avoid paying it back. He and his wife, Carol, probably didn't have much savings since they spent their earnings freely. It was clear they didn't have the means to pay back the debt. My brother tried to sweet-talk me. Hey, Samantha, our parents are gone, and it's just us siblings now, right? Isn't this the time to join forces? Join forces? What do you mean? I think we should work together to pay back our parents' debt. Now's the time to show our filial piety. So forget about the inheritance and help me pay back half the debt. I sighed heavily at my brother's selfish proposal, which was too little, too late. What are you talking about? When Dad was in the hospital, I said we should help our parents together, but you pushed me away. I was busy at the time. No matter how busy you were, you didn't visit Dad in the hospital even once, and you didn't support our grieving mother afterward. I don't want to hear the words filial piety from someone like you ever again. With nothing left to say, I left my brother hanging. Have you ever done anything for someone else, Tyler? I know you took advantage of our kind parents, but there's no one who will help someone who can't do anything for others, even if they're family. But if you don't help me, Carol and I can't pay back the debt by ourselves. Are you going to abandon your brother? We're family. When Dad was in the hospital, you abandoned him, saying it was his own fault for not managing his health. This time, using Mom's savings is your own fault. I regret that, okay? I've changed. Have you? I still think you're just desperate to reduce your own debt. And even if you've changed, the person you should apologize to is no longer in this world. It's too late. I cut off my brother and hung up the phone. I had no intention of helping him after all the trouble he had caused our parents throughout the years. Afterwards, burdened with debt and unable to live the carefree life they once had, Tyler and Carol's relationship quickly turned sour. However, living separately would only cost more money. Unable to afford even the moving expenses, Tyler and Carol had no choice but to continue their married life together, bickering all the while. At first, they tried to save money and pay off the debt little by little from their salaries, but it didn't last long. Neither Tyler nor Carol could forget their luxurious lifestyle, and they would secretly spend money behind each other's backs, causing their debt to never decrease. As a result, they blamed each other for their inability to reduce the debt, further damaging their relationship. Their marriage continued to crumble in this vicious cycle. On the other hand, I finally found the time to properly mourn our parents. I remembered how, during our parents' funeral, countless attendees tearfully expressed their gratitude for the help our parents had provided them when they were in need. Realizing how many people our parents had helped made me feel even more proud of them. It was ironic that my brother, who had never shown any gratitude and had always caused trouble for our parents, ended up shouldering the debt that resulted from their acts of kindness. Even though they were drowning in debt, I still admired our parents for never giving up on helping others. With these thoughts in mind, I continued to pay my respects to our parents at the family altar every day. "Bobby's mom! Please come immediately!" The sight that I saw, having rushed over at the teacher's words, was my son collapsed on the spot. My son was unconscious after colliding with a friend and falling from the playground equipment. I was anxious and called help to my husband, but busy with his work, he didn't come to our son's side. Even though it's his job, it's just too cruel, while his own son is being taken away in an ambulance. I realized something. The worst reason he couldn't rush to our son's side. I'm Jennifer. I live with my husband John and our elementary school-age son, Bobby. John works in the hotel industry and doesn't have weekends off, so he rarely participates in Bobby's school events. He's never shown up for parent-teacher conferences or sports days. When we received the letter about a parent-child outing, I asked my husband, knowing he probably couldn't go, "John, there's a parent-child outing during the upcoming public holiday." "During a holiday? I can't. I have work." Despite understanding, I still felt lonely. When I asked other moms, they said that everyone is managing to attend with their spouses. Some people also work on weekends, but they seem to be adjusting to take the day off. When I mentioned this, John clearly seemed annoyed and retorted, "So what? You're telling me to take a day off too? You understand my work, right?" "Yeah, sorry." Reluctantly, I decided to attend the parent-child outing with Bobby alone. While many families were participating with both parents, there were also fathers participating alone because their wives were working. Well, it happens that wives have to work too. I wasn't bothered by it and thought I would enjoy the day with Bobby. However, when the children go off to play, it inevitably gets lonely. The other moms were there with their husbands, so it was hard to join in the conversation. As I was sitting there, the teacher came running towards me in a panic. "Bobby's mom, please come immediately." "Huh? What happened?" "Bobby. He collided with a friend and fell off the playground equipment." "What? Bobby?" I rushed to the scene to find my son unconscious. The teacher immediately called an ambulance, and I got in with Bobby, who was still unconscious. When we arrived at the hospital, he was immediately taken to the examination room. Realizing I hadn't informed John, I quickly called him. "Hello, John? Something terrible has happened. Bobby fell from the playground equipment and hit his head. He's unconscious." "What? Shouldn't you have called an ambulance before calling me?" "The teacher already did that. He's being transported to the hospital and undergoing examinations now." "All right. You're at the hospital then. Let me know the results via email when you know." "What?" I couldn't believe my ears. He wasn't planning to come to the hospital in this emergency? What are you saying? You need to come home now. In response to my cry, my husband replied in a flippant tone, Hey, didn't I tell you I can't take a break during this holiday? But we're in a state of emergency right now. Don't you understand? I know you're at the hospital, but what's the point of me going there? There's nothing I can do at the moment. We just have to wait for the results. Let me know when you get any updates. Bye for now. With that, John hung up the phone abruptly. I was left staring at my smartphone, dumbfounded. He wouldn't even come home for our son's critical situation. As I slumped there, a man approached me. Are you Bobby's mom? I'm Alex's father. It was Alex's father who had spoken. Alex was the friend who had collided with Bobby. I remembered him attending the event with his son as his wife was absent. Alex's father bowed deeply towards me. I am truly sorry for what has happened. I hastily shook my head. I heard from the teacher that Bobby and Alex accidentally ran into each other. It was a careless mistake on our part as well. Please don't worry about it. Standing next to his father, Alex, with his bandages wrapped around him, stood there with his eyes swollen from crying. It's because I ran into Bobby. I reassured Alex gently. It's not your fault, Alex. Bobby will be absolutely fine. Once he's better, will you play with him again? Alex nodded tearfully. His father, looking relieved, thanked me. Thank you for your kind words. My wife should have been here to greet you as well. I apologize. No, it's okay. My husband can't come back from work either. Is Alex's mother at work too? No, actually. Alex's father hesitated. My wife is on a trip with her friends. It was planned before this field trip, so she couldn't cancel it. It's embarrassing. Oh, I see. I tried to contact her several times about the accident, but I haven't been able to reach her. As soon as Alex's father finished speaking, his phone rang. Oh, it's my wife. Excuse me for a moment. Alex's father quickly answered the phone and explained the situation to his wife. That's what happened. How soon can you get back here? 2 hours? But how are you going to get back? You can't drive, can you? Oh, a friend is with you? That's good then. Be careful. After ending the call, he reported to me with a relieved look. I'm sorry. I just got in touch with my wife. She has a friend who happens to be coming near here, and she will drive her here. It will take about 2 hours, though. I see. Then my phone rang. Oh, it's my husband. Excuse me. I excused myself and answered the call. John, what happened? I managed to get some time off and we'll head there. I'll finish work in about 2 hours and I'll head straight there. Really? That's great. After ending the call, I reported back to Alex's father. My husband will also be here in about 2 hours. It's good that we can both meet. Just then, we were called by the doctor who had finished the examination. According to the examination, Bobby had no abnormalities. He had just lost consciousness due to the shock, and they decided to observe him for now. Even though they said no abnormalities, it was still nerve-wracking not knowing when he would regain consciousness. As I came out of the examination room filled with worry, Alex's father was there waiting for me. He was holding Alex, who had fallen asleep from exhaustion. We started to chat about our families to distract ourselves from the situation. Alex's mother was a homemaker, but recently she had been going out with her friends often during evenings and weekends. When she was away, he would take care of their child. My wife usually takes care of our son Alex during weekdays, so I thought she should have some fun during nights and weekends, but now I regret not canceling her trip during the school field trip. As I listened to his story, I couldn't help but compare it to my husband John. My husband, on his days off, be it weekends when he has work, or even on weekdays, he always leaves alone saying he needs to unwind. In contrast, Alex's father is actively involved in childcare. I found myself confiding my husband's complaints to him. As we talked, I noticed a strange coincidence. The behavior of John and Alex's mother coincided exactly. The days they couldn't attend events. The weekdays they went out in the evening. They were all the same. I suddenly became curious and asked, By the way, my husband went on a business trip to Phoenix last month. Oh, When was that? It was the first weekend of last month, I believe. My wife said she was going on a trip with friends that day and came back with souvenirs from Phoenix. Could it be? We exchanged glances. It had been about 2 hours since we called John and his wife. The first to contact us was John. My husband will arrive at the parking lot soon, so I'll go and pick him up. I told Alex's father and headed to the parking lot. When I nervously peeked into the car, there was no one in the passenger seat. Could it be that Alex's mother is with him? That's what I was speculating. I brought John, who got out of the car with an innocent face, back to the hospital room where Bobby was sleeping. After exchanging greetings with Alex's father, Alex's mother appeared. I didn't miss the moment when she and John looked at each other's faces and were momentarily lost for words. As if nothing had happened, John greeted Alex's mother. "Ha, hello. Thank you for always taking care of our son." Alex's mother quickly returned the greeting in response to John's excited voice. "Oh, yes. Hello. Likewise." Upon observing the two, I decided to stir the pot a bit. "Oh, is this your first time meeting my husband, Alex's mom?" Alex's mother answered in a flustered manner. Of course. It's our first meeting. Isn't it obvious?" "You don't have to deny it so desperately. It wouldn't be strange if you had met him at parent-teacher meetings or school events, right?" That's impossible. I didn't know John's son was in the same class as my son." I hadn't called my husband by his name in front of her yet. She took the bait. This was suspicious. At that moment, I was convinced of my husband's affair with her. Moreover, it seemed that they had been dating without knowing that their children were classmates. Isn't it strange? "How do you know my husband's name if you're meeting for the first time?" Alex's mother was at a loss for words at my questioning. That is... Suddenly, John snapped at me to protect her. "Hey, Jennifer, what's your problem? That's rude to her, isn't it? She's the mother of our son's friend. You should show some respect." Alex woke up to the sound of John yelling. And then he pointed at John and said, the man who comes to our house." "A man who comes to our house?" The hospital room fell silent. Alex's mother tried to cover up his remark in a hurry. "Whoa, hold on, Alex. What are you talking about? Are you mistaking him for someone else?" Perplexed, Alex continues. "No, I'm not mistaken. Dad, could you lend me your tablet?" Alex receives the tablet from his father, and with practiced ease, he shows a certain image. "Look, this." The image displayed is of a toy train set in Alex's room that he had assembled himself. The toy train set is a product sold by a toy company. "What's this? Isn't it the toy set that Alex usually plays with?" To his mother's puzzled question, Alex points to a figure in the background of the toy train set. See this man? I remember him because I look at this photo from time to time." Upon closer inspection, the image captured the living room in the background of Alex's room, where a man, John, was seen chatting amiably with Alex's mother. "With this, you can't dodge the truth anymore," I muttered, giving them a hard stare. Alex's father, too, was trembling with anger. He raised his voice at his wife. "You've been inviting your lover into our house while I'm at work? And look at the date. It's the day I was away on business, wasn't it?" I, too, was shocked when I saw the date. This date? Wasn't it the day John didn't come home because he was on a business trip? Don't tell me. You stayed over at Alex's house? That is... She said it was okay, so I just... John readily admitted his infidelity and shifted the blame onto Alex's mother. Hearing this, she hastily countered. "What? You're blaming me? It was you who said it's a waste of money to stay outside, wasn't it?" Alex's father put an end to the ugly argument. "Enough. Inviting your lover to stay in a house where there's a child? You're unfit to be a mother. You're utterly despicable. I disdain you from the bottom of my heart." At his words, John flinched, and he quickly tried to paint the lover as the villain. "Indeed, she's unfit to be a mother. At least I've never met her in front of Bobby. I care about my child, you know." "What? What's this guy talking about? He's joking, right?" I felt a surge of anger towards my husband. "Are you kidding me? Even though Bobby was unconscious, you didn't even try to come home, using work as an excuse. No, that's not true. I mean, I rushed to the hospital, didn't I?" That's because she decided to come back, isn't it? You didn't have the slightest intention of coming back until Alex's dad told her about our son's accident. I thought it would be okay even if I wasn't there at that time. Whether it's okay or not, that's not the point. If you're a father, you should rush to your child's side when you hear they're unconscious, shouldn't you? Despite that, you prioritized your trip with your lover. You're not a father, or anything of the sort. No matter what you think, I am Bobby's father. And what do you plan to do if Bobby doesn't wake up? Can you, a stay-at-home mom, keep paying the hospital bills? Without me, you and our son can't survive. Grr. It's frustrating, but I don't have the savings to keep paying these hospital bills. Do I have no choice but to turn a blind eye to John's infidelity for now? Just when I was about to give up, a frail voice came from the bed. Mom? When I turned around, Bobby had his eyes barely open. Bobby! I clung to my son. Bobby hugged me back tightly, then said, Even if Dad's not here, I'll be okay, because I'll protect you, Mom. Hearing Bobby's words, John was dumbfounded. Bobby, why would you say something like that? Then my son answered firmly, Because you're moving out, right, Dad? After Mom went to bed the other night, you said that on the phone, didn't you? On the phone? I heard you talking when I got up to go to the bathroom, Dad. You said I don't care about Jennifer at all. If it wasn't for the kids, I would leave right away and be with you. That's what you said, isn't it, Dad? That's... John's face went pale. So, I'll grant Dad's wish. I don't need to be your child anymore. I don't need a dad anymore. John was shocked at Bobby's words. On the other hand, I finally made up my mind after hearing what Bobby had said. I've made up my mind. Please, let's separate. As I told this to my husband, Alex's father handed me his business card. Jennifer, I'll help with your decision too. The business card he handed over had the title of a law firm's director printed on it. We should have plenty of evidence aside from this toy train photo. Leave the claim for alimony and child support to me. I'm planning to make a claim to my wife too, so it's like killing two birds with one stone. Upon hearing his words, Alex's mother started to panic. What? Wait! I haven't agreed to a divorce yet. I won't leave you. Then Alex's father said to her in a cold voice, Huh? You, who cheated, have no right to choose. A low-life mother who would cheat in front of her child doesn't deserve custody. If you still object, it'll go to court, you know. You're aware of my high success rate in court, right? And with such favorable conditions, there's no way I'd lose. Seemingly resigned, Alex's mother quickly consented to the divorce and agreed to pay the compensation. Seeing this, John also signed the pledge to pay alimony and child support to his wife. He must have realized that it was futile to go against the lawyer. After that, both our marriages ended in divorce. The now free Alex's mother and John started living together as planned. However, their living arrangement didn't go as planned. Once they started living together, they began suspecting each other of cheating with someone else, and their relationship began to sour. Tired of the relationship, John actually ended up cheating with another married woman. As always, John was sloppy and was easily caught by the woman's husband, who demanded compensation. Alex's mother also cheated with someone else, but her lover merely took advantage of her and then dumped her. Alex's mother, who had spent all her savings, and John, who was drowning in debt from paying compensation. They both seemed to be stuck together, blaming each other for their misfortunes. At this rate, they're clearly heading for financial ruin, but I don't feel sorry for them at all. They reaped what they sowed. It serves them right. As for me, thanks to Alex's father, I received more than enough alimony and child support, and now Bobby and I are living a peaceful life. Bobby got better without any problems and returned to his daily life. He still plays happily with Alex, just like before. I've become good friends with Alex's father, even more so than my mom friends, and we talk about everything. My only wish now is to continue living a happy life with Bobby, just the two of us.